Hey guys, so the Reds go marching on, United into the next round of the FA Cup, knocking out Liverpool in what feels like, for me, almost a passing of the baton. You know, United taking over from Liverpool as maybe the front runners in England. It's maybe symbolic of Liverpool dropping off a bit and United coming up to a new level of performance. It's been fantastic to watch today. And for me, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got the game plan absolutely spot on. So in this video, obviously tactical analysis, so I'll be taking you through the game plan, having a look at how we executed it, and then going into some observations from the game. And we'll have a little look at set pieces again as part of that, because there were a lot of times when a lot of you will have noticed, obviously we scored the winner from the free kick, but from corners as well, United had a great idea, a great set of routines, and we won the first header more often than not, which is a fantastic potential opportunity for us. We didn't take them, as usual, but it's good that we're winning the first headers from those. So, without further ado, let's get into the game plan. Do smash a like on the video if you're enjoying it. Drop a comment if you enjoyed that game, if you're gassed that we're in the next round. And yeah, let's get into it. So the game plan. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer set out the team you can see on the screen in the 4-2-3-1 formation. Now, in the league game against Liverpool, the 4-2-3-1 works brilliantly. And the main reason it worked well was because defensively, the wingers in the league game, I think it was Rashford and Pogba, if I'm not mistaken, they kept tabs on their fullbacks, so mitigated Liverpool's wide threat. And then McTominay and Pogba, with help from Fernandes dropping in deeper later on, dealt with the Liverpool midfield. And yeah, overall, I think the system worked well for the league game. We just didn't execute well. We didn't take our chances when they arose, hence it finished 0-0. So it makes sense in a way that he's gone for the same system again in the FA Cup. Now, the plan here obviously was that Rashford and Mason Green would track back with their wingers, with their fullbacks. So they followed Trent and Robertson to try and reduce the threat from wide areas that Liverpool have. Now, early on, that seemed to work fairly well in terms of stopping the threat from those wide areas, but where we were losing the ball, where we were having problems, was the same thing that happened in the league game in the first 15-20 minutes. United got absolutely swamped in the midfield area. And the reason for that was because we kept the back four really narrow, nice and tight, but we had Pogba and McTominay here. And what they were trying to do was both screen the area in front of the defence, the sort of area just on the edge of the box in the central area. United are really big on defending that particular zone. So the zone, let's say, this sort of big square here. That zone just on the edge of the box, just in front of the defence. That's a really important zone for United defensively. And we were so focused on defending that. Whether that's Pogba and McTominay just sitting there, holding the space, marking zonally, or whether that's them following Salah or Mane when they go into those areas, or sorry, not Salah or Mane, Salah and Curtis Jones, or Firmino in those areas. It was really important for United to try and defend those areas, but we didn't do a good enough job. We were outnumbered massively numerically, because not only was Firmino dropping back into these areas, also sometimes the wingers, but they had all three midfielders at times getting into those spaces. So the problem was that as well as trying to protect these areas zonally, Pogba and McTominay were putting a lot of emphasis on man marking the two more advanced Liverpool central midfield players. So they were going man to man. And what that meant was that for the deeper one, normally Thiago, he could easily find balls through to Firmino, Salah and Curtis Jones. So that gap between Pogba and McTominay was too big. And that's what we saw for the first goal there. So that's the first black mark against Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's team selection and how it transpired in game. So the man-to-man marking of the Pogba and McTominay, trying to defend this central zone here, caused us problems. And the way we solved that in the league game, because the same thing happened, was that we dropped Bruno Fernandes a bit deeper, so he kept an eye on the deepest Liverpool central midfield player, meaning that, worst case, the only overload was coming from Firmino, which is still a problem, but it's better managed than it was. So when Van der Beek did that, which was more in the second half than in the first, we started to look better. Now, have a quick look at some of your comments, guys. Olayobi says, hello, how are you, man? How are you doing? Great game to watch. Yep, completely agree. Fantastic. Damien says, big win. Yeah, huge for the lads. It was massive, massive win. So Haib Alam says, United can't score from corners. Too many goals being missed. Yeah, we'll come on to corners later. But, you know, it's nice to see that we had a game plan to deal with the way they defend corners. It worked well because we won the first header more often than not. But again, it's the execution that's let us down. And look, I can bet you that as soon as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer gets time on the training ground, set pieces will be high up the list of things to practice, because there's so many goals, so many chances we could be taking from those corners. So we're missing out so much in games by not being able to win those headers, put them on target and get them in the back of the net. It's really frustrating at times, but I guess at the moment there isn't the training time to do anything about it, so they haven't just yet. But yeah, I'm sure that'll be high up his list of priorities. It has to be. Now, in the early 15-20 minutes, the first 15-20 minutes, again, coming back to that, Obviously, there's the man-to-man marking, we've dealt with that. The next problem was that United were trying to play out too much. We were trying to play through Pogba and McTominay. And it was the same issue as the league game again. We got absolutely swamped. So Liverpool push up really high. The midfield three come up. The fullbacks come up. It's really, really difficult to find passes through, especially if you take a touch, try and get the ball down from the air if it's a bit scrappy, try and put your foot on the ball and then look for a pass. By that time, you've lost the ball, and Pogba and McTominay both fell foul of that in the first 15 minutes. They both lost the ball a few times. That's where we conceded, I think, the opening goal from, and the second one was equally sloppy from a similar issue of playing out from the back. But the issue is we tried to put our foot on the ball and tried to take too much time on the ball sometimes. And when you're playing against a team like Liverpool, you can't afford to do that. Yes, sometimes McTominay and Pogba will beat the press, but other times they'll lose the ball. And if you lose the ball in front of your defence here, you're always going to be in trouble against a big team. What we needed to do, and what was more effective later, as we saw for our brilliant first goal, was get that ball up to the wings. The game plan from ONNNN Solskjaer, in attack, was move that ball early into the wings, into the spaces behind the Liverpool fullbacks who pushed on really high. And then as soon as you've done that, it gives the Liverpool defence a problem. Normally it's the two central defenders and maybe a midfielder tracking back, but they're all recovering. The problem then they've got is they've got three players. They've got Rashford on one side, Greenwood all the way out on the other side, and Cavani in the middle. So one of those central defenders has to take Cavani, and obviously numerically United have the advantage. So the space, because obviously they're going to have to try and shut down Rashford, who's dribbling with the ball down this wing. And I think it was it Phillips or Williams or whatever, Reece Williams on this side. By the way, he may be a good defender in future, maybe a terrific player for Liverpool, but he's not physically ready for the Premier League or that standard yet. He's not good enough, nowhere near. Reece Williams was not good enough at all. But he's got to go out and press Rashford. So if Rashford plays that ball really early, the other centre-back, Fabinho in this case, has got to try and cover, because if Rashford gets past Reece Williams, he's got to be there to deal with it. But if that ball goes up early, and it gets over the central midfield player coming back on the recovery, Greenwood's in. And that's exactly what we saw from the first goal. And if you listen to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's interview after the game, that's exactly how we wanted things to pan out. He wanted to get that ball early to the wingers and then switch that all the way to the opposite side. And that is how you can hurt a team like Liverpool that get their fullbacks really high up the pitch. So you know what? On this one, you've got to give full credit to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for getting the game plan right in terms of attacking. Defensively, obviously, the whole emphasis... So defensively, a lot of you will have seen United out of possession. We don't stick to a 4-2-3-1. We drop back to a 4-4-2. So Greenwood and Rashford in this case dropping back, and Van der Beek and Cavani forming the front two. And now obviously that led us a lot of times when these two were pressing the defence. It gave us this problem in midfield, again, of this overload 3v2 with McTominay and Pogba taking their more advanced central midfield players, this man here being free, and also Firmino being free to drop in. And that gave us, as I said, the problems of easy passes through there. If one of these guys loses their man, the other one is going to struggle to recover because they're quite far away. That gap is too big, and that's why Van der Beek needed to be a bit deeper early on. Now, in terms of player performance and observations, Damon's just said here, he thought Van der Beek wasn't in the game too much. And you know what, I do agree with you, Van der Beek struggled a little bit at times, but I do think he had some good touches. There were a few times when he really... so Suba says he isn't a 10, he's a 6. Damon thinks he's definitely not a 6. We can come to that debate in a minute, but there were a lot of times when Donny van der Beek there, he had some really nice touches. And what Van der Beek's so good at is, as we said, if you watch my video on Van der Beek, as you'll know, he receives that ball on the correct foot. He knows if there's a player pressing you from the front, he'll receive it on the back foot, so he's got time to pivot and play that pass out. And he gets rid of the ball in 1 or 2 touches almost every time because he's got his technique down. He receives the ball with 1 touch, with the correct foot to play it away straight away. And that's why McTominay and Pogba didn't do so well. That's why they got caught. But that's why Van der Beek himself was able to play out of the press so easily a few times. And so Van der Beek, he didn't go and light up the world. He wasn't eye-catching. But he did help us get forward. He did help us sort of get out of the press a few times. I think in the lead up to the first goal and a few of our chances, he was instrumental in the build-up play because just 1 or 2 touches takes a Liverpool player out of the game and he can give the ball to another one of our players in space. Now, in terms of where Van der Beek should play, obviously do keep letting me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But for me, I think he should be aiming to emulate Frank Lampard and become a fantastic number 8. And it's going to take him time to adapt because there are parts of his game that aren't ready yet. Defensively, he's not quite ready. His long-range passing is not quite ready. His 1 and 2 touch play is absolutely stunning. It's fantastic. Incredible, Donny van der Beek. And so he's more than equipped to play in the midfield. He's fantastic at playing out of a press because, as I said, he receives the ball on the correct foot every time. And that's really useful to him because it means that he's just taking players out of the game with his first touch most of the time. So is he a number 10? He's a number 10 because he needs to get into the penalty area. For me, and you guys may disagree, let me know what you think on this. Behind Edinson Cavani, this man here, Donny van de Beek is our best penalty area player in the United squad. Maybe Mason Greenwood, but for me it's Donny van de Beek. Now, the reason I say that is because Donny van de Beek is probably the best player, other than Cavani, who can find a half yard, get a shot off or pass to a teammate and make sure that ball ends up in the back of the net. We didn't see that today because Van de Beek didn't get himself on the ball in the box enough. Mainly because the players behind him didn't get it to him, but also partly because he didn't find the spaces himself. In terms of the game plan, obviously, early on it was quite defensive from United, which didn't help Donny van de Beek. So early on it was just the front four, so just Rashford, Greenwood, Van de Beek and Cavani that actually got forward. So it was really hard for the players sort of dropping into a deeper role to actually get that ball. So when Van de Beek sort of pulled back to the edge of the box, it was hard for him to get it because Rashford, Greenwood and Cavani were focused on driving into the box themselves and getting a cross in behind the defence. So it was tough for Van de Beek today. I don't think he's a 6, to be honest. I think he struggles. I think he struggles defensively from the front. So when there's players in front of him that he's got to defend, he's not so good. And positionally, he does get dragged out too much. I think if he plays as a 6 in this game, he would have really struggled. So Suba says they didn't used to play a 10 in Ajax when he was there. Yeah, he played, I think from my understanding, he had one season at Ajax as a number 10. He was fantastic. It was his best season statistically. He had another season as a number 8 when he was pretty good. And for me, that's where he should be looking to go. But I think he needs to, rather than just playing 1 and 2 touch short passing, he needs to develop. And that's why he's taking time to adapt. He's got to get his all-round game, his longer range passing up. He's got to get better at controlling the tempo, that sort of thing. Damien also says, yeah, great switching of play for our goals. Yes, that was a key part of the game plan, as I said. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer knew that's a weak point at Liverpool because their fullbacks come so high out the pitch. Sarfak says, McTominay, why is he hated so much? Scott McTominay, you know, I don't know if you guys are seeing my tweets. I don't know if you follow me on Twitter. But I was really impressed. There was one time towards the end of the first half, he was getting pressed like somewhere here on the pitch, just beyond the halfway line. He beats the man pressing him brilliantly, gets beyond him and plays some 40-yard switcher play out to the wing. It's fantastic to see. McTominay's improving every single game. He's getting better and better and better. He's going to be some player, honestly, in a couple of years if he keeps going at this rate. He's fantastic. Damien, yeah, Van de Beek's movement and touches create good chances, but he doesn't seem to have a long ball in him. Yeah, exactly. He needs to improve his passing range. Suba says, McTominay's passing was bad. Yeah, I do agree. I think he was pressed aggressively, as Suhaib says. Yeah, he was pressed really, really aggressively, and that's what Liverpool do. In this midfield area, as soon as we got that ball, and this is why we shouldn't have tried to play out so much, especially in the early stages when we were under pressure. Because every time it went into McTominay or Pogba, Firmino was dropping back. The Liverpool wingers were dropping back to press him, and then the midfielders were going straight up in their faces and making it really hard to play out. Now, 2 more things I want to come on to. Firstly, before we go to corners, one little trick we've seen recently from United in build-up is Harry Maguire here. So oftentimes, the right winger here, they've got to make that decision when they're pressing. Do they go and press Harry Maguire, leaving potentially that ball to Luke Shaw open and really easy for then Luke Shaw to drive forward and find Rashford? And we know that Luke Shaw's been incisive in recent weeks with his passing and running. Or do we go and sit out here, just watch Luke Shaw and stop that ball coming? What Maguire does so well is he receives that ball and his body shape's initially turned out towards Luke Shaw as if he's going to make that pass. And then he'll square up, he'll face forwards, he'll drive forwards into that space. Obviously, I say it like it's happening really fast. It's not. It's Harry Maguire. But he drives forward into that space, gets in between Salah and Firmino in this case, and he'll play that ball curled out to either Shaw or Rashford on that over there. And because he's right-footed, and normally it's a disadvantage playing on the left side as right-footed centre-back, but because he's right-footed, that ball's curved that way, so it's perfect for Luke Shaw and Rashford to run onto before Trent can get there. So whether it's going sort of just there or whether it's going further up the pitch, Harry Maguire's been fantastic at doing that recently. And because obviously it's going inside the winger, so the winger's taken out the game, and it's perfect for our left-sided players to get onto. So that's been really helpful for us. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is corners here. And the reason I want to talk about that, quick touch on corners, is because the outswinging corners were perfect. Liverpool zonal marking just on the edge of their 6-yard box here. They had a load of players lined up. I'm only going to use 2 there because otherwise it'll get too crowded to see what's going on. United just outswinging corner out this way. So we received the ball behind that, get runners in. We had a lot of runners going for the ball. We received that deeper than their zonal markers and head that into the back of the net or on target, would be nice. But the fact we're winning those first headers is good, and it shows improvement from set pieces. I'm really pleased with that. Now, overall, guys, thank you so much for watching the stream. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the interaction from you guys. Suhaib says, yeah, McTominay was pressed aggressively. Yep, read that one. Damien said he had an adequate game, avoided the press well, but ran into trouble sometimes. Yep, agreed. He did. I think he was had a decent performance there, Scott McTominay. I was pleased with him. Not as good as Paul Pogba. I'll do my player ratings video on TikTok and possibly on Twitter, so stay tuned for that. And until next time, until next time, thanks for watching. Sarthak says, is there no header training at the Carrington though? Yep, apparently not. But yeah, until next time, thanks so much for watching, guys. It's been fantastic getting all your comments on the stream. We're into the next round of the FA Cup, and it looks good for number 21. So thanks so much for watching again.